Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 710 to 711 for the 3rd to the 4th of February. Let's start off with the frontline changes report, and the first we need to talk about is actually not Avdiivka, Yampolivka first. Let's start off with Yampolivka. So over at the Kreminna Front, this is Kreminna city, and this is Yampolivka. At the Yampolivka region, there is a Russian assault that was captured on film, and they actually captured this tree line or this forest region with the Russian forces geolocated within this location over here, and this invalidated Ukrainian claims that was around here, and also captured more ground that was previously not claimed by the Russian forces. So this, if I zoom out a little bit, you can see that this Terny, Yampolivka, and the Russians making some progress in this area here. And we move to the biggest development over at the Avdiivka Front. So the Battle of Avdiivka continues with Russian forces having major success over in the northern part of Avdiivka. So as per I mentioned, so this is Avdiivka city, and in the northern part, the Russian forces has been taking a lot of grounds, and I did allude to this possibility due to the geographic limitations that the Ukrainians have to face, and in fact the Russians managed to even capture more than that. So this frontline change is actually done by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source. The Ukrainians are the one that conceded this territory based on their mapping. We have made this update, and the Russian forces basically have captured these two tree lines, and they have managed to go all the way to this lake. They managed to link up with the previous capture that was previously done over here, and basically close up this gap. And like I mentioned before, the Ukrainians would not be able to reinforce through a direct easy route. They have to go one big round. As a result, the Ukrainians just gave up. They just abandoned the position, and they are withdrawing away from this location. And further than that, the Russians also make grounds around this southwest of Kayamka over here. Southwestern part, the Russians are also pushing, which means that the Ukrainian forces is going to give up the entire area around the lake region. And more surprisingly is the Russians penetrating through the forest in the northern part of Avdiivka city, and are going very close to the southeastern part of the coke plant over here. So so I will talk more about this, the strategic tactical and analysis about this in the conclusions. So yeah, check out the conclusions when it's out. And so then this is the frontline changes over in this northern part of Avdiivka, and this is the frontline changes report. And we go to the strategic and tactical situation around the rest of the Ukraine front lines. Over in the Kupyansk Front, at the Kupyansk Front, the Russians are still being reported to be fighting in the area of Ivanyivka as well as Sinkivka. This is Kupyansk city, and this is the Kupyansk Front, in case you do not know. And so the main fighting is around here. The Ukrainians are reportedly attacking in the Liman Lake region as well as Sinkivka. Mainly, I think mainly is over on the 3rd of February, whereas Sinkivka was reported on both days, 3rd and the 4th. The Russians were attacking Sinkivka and Ivanyivka, and this report only comes on the 3rd of February. Same for Sinkivka. On the 4th of February, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that the Russians did not launch any offensive in the Kupyansk direction. So yeah, so that is interesting. And so there is some geolocation of Ukrainian forces southwest of Ivanyivka, not very important around this area. And this is the strategic situation at the Kupyansk Front. We move on over to the Sviatove. We do not have any any updates in terms of the Sviatove front, which is over here. We move into the Kreminna Front, which is further south. And so this is Kreminna city, and as mentioned in the frontline changes report, we already know that the Russians are attacking Yampolivka. However, the Russian Defense Ministry also said that the Ukrainians are attacking Yampolivka. Similar situation is over at Terny. The clashes continues between the two sides. The Ukrainian forces are also attacking Dniprova over here. and the Russian forces are attacking through the Siversk forestry. So this is the strategic situation over at the Kreminna Front. It's pretty much standard already. You probably can recognize it's pretty much the same thing. We move into the Siversk Front in the south of the Kreminna Front. So this is Siversk city. And at the Siversk Front, the Russian forces are attacking Yampolivka in the Luhansk region, and that's about it. There is some geolocation of Ukrainian forces over in the Vasily region. So if you zoom in a bit, the Ukrainian forces is geolocated around here. And it's pretty much within where our front line of where the Ukrainians are. So there's no change in terms of the front line due to this geolocation, but it just happens to confirm that the Ukrainians are over in this region. We move on away from the Siversk Front into the Bakhmut Front. So this is Bakhmut city, the infamous Bakhmut city, and this is the Bakhmut Front. Over the Bakhmut Front in the northern flank, the similar situation continues with the Russian forces attacking in the area of Avdiivka. And the Ukrainians counterattack over at Ivanyivsky in a surprise, because previously it's always been the Russians attacking. So this time around we have the Ukrainians counterattacking. And this is the strategic situation. We don't have any other information about this area here, other than Ivanyivsky is getting shelled by the Russian forces. That's geolocated. Over in the southern flank, we have some geolocation of Lancet attacks against Ukrainian positions or equipments in the rear position near Zaporizhzhia, and there is also Russians are being reportedly attacking in the region of Klishchiivka. There is a previous in the previous frontline changes report, the Ukrainian forces managed to seems to have some grounds in the south of the lake in the eastern part of Klishchiivka, but generally the Russians are geolocated in the attacking the railway line, or they are at the railway line region, and the Ukrainian forces in the north of Klishchiivka. None of this changes the front line. The only one is over this location. And so the situation at Klishchiivka, as you can see, the Russians have this area pretty much like a gray zone, which is why we have the geolocation of Russian forces attacking in this area here. And Ukrainian forces geolocated here just shows how close the front line is, because Deep State UA actually marked this forest region here and all the way up this road here as under Russian control. So which is why Ukrainians geolocated here it just shows how close the front line is between the two forces. They're probably able to sync to each other, which they did before. And so that's it from the Bakhmut Front. Into the New-York Front. So this is New York City, this is Donetsk, and over the New York Front, the Ukrainian forces, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, attacked in the region of Pivdene or Leninskoye. So the Ukrainian forces were attacking in this area here towards the direction of Holivka, which is a major city in Donetsk Oblast. If I zoom out, you probably see Holivka. So this attack probably wouldn't go anywhere. So no, it's just going to be a probing kind of thing. And this area here is pretty much a no man's land. So any maneuver over that location is going to be very, very, it will just stand out in the sore thumb kind of thing. So over at the Avdiivka Front, so this is Avdiivka city. So this is where the highlight of the Russian current operation is, with the Russian forces attacking Novokalinove towards Novobakhmutivka towards Stepove, or in the region of Stepove. They attack in the north of Avdiivka from the region of Kayamka as well. They're attacking from the south, but pretty much more stagnant, more positional over in the south. There's fighting reported near Spartak, in the north of Spartak. There's Russians attack towards Zhivane, towards Tonenke, towards Povomaysky. Draw bad arrow. Towards Povomaysky and Nevelsky. So the Russians have reignited the entire Avdiivka offensive. If you remember the last SITREP, the Russian forces is basically concentrating over around Avdiivka alone, and also at the Povomaysky and Nevelsky region alone. We do not have this Tonenke Zhivane situation, as well as the Stepove, Novobakhmutivka, Novokalinove situation. These are an expansion, and it seems to be the Russians are trying to catch on the momentum that is being generated with this success push in the north of Avdiivka. And this breakthrough, it looks very big in terms of land area, but of course you have to look at the strategic situation. which I will talk more about it in the conclusions. I don't want to bore you with my analysis because this is the situation report. We talk about the situation only, we'll talk about analysis later. So over at the Donetsk Front, so you can see this is Donetsk city, and this is the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, over at the Marinka sector, which is over here, the Russian forces are continuing their attack towards Krasnohorivka. They are attacking Georgievka as well as in the region of Novomihailivka. So these reports come from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So this is not Russian propaganda, it's Ukrainian propaganda. And so various geolocations don't really talk much. It's basically Russians attacking each other, attacking the Ukrainian side, the Ukrainian attacking the Russian side. No, nothing very significant to talk about, so I don't want to bore you with the details. Over in the Voleda, the other sector of this Donetsk front, the Russians reportedly attacked Voleda. This is according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Ukrainian Defense Ministry continued to report the Russians attack in the south of Zolota Neva, and this continues to be what I'm going to be watching, of course. But attack towards Voleda is interesting. They're putting pressure on the Ukrainian forces as these lines are all looking a bit shaky, but of course the front line pretty much held, except for the loss of Marinka. The Ukrainian forces have been very successful at holding most of the line. Of course, the Russians are are pushing Novomihailivka, and that is actually breaking down. So we move into the Zaporizhzhia Front. So this is Zaporizhzhia city, and this is the Zaporizhzhia Front. Over the Zaporizhzhia Front, we have fighting reported at the Velika Novosilka sector. This is Velika Novosilka. The Russians attacking north of Prione as well as towards Uruzhaine. Ukrainians are not mentioned to be attacking. So this is the situation at the Velika Novosilka sector. We move west, nothing at the Huyaipole sector. We move into the Orikhiv sector. Orikhiv sector is a bit interesting because the Russians continue to be attacking Nesteryanka. They are attacking Robotine, the west of Verbove and Verbove. And this continues to be intriguing, especially the Nesteryanka one. This is something like the Zolota Neva situation. So let's see how this progress. Ukrainian forces geolocated just off Novoporovska, showing where the front line is, and pretty much didn't change our front line. So I zoom in a bit, you can see that the front line is basically just outside of Novoporovska. The Russians are holding the settlement of Novoporovska. And we move to the Kayamsky sector, the very last sector of the Zaporizhzhia Front. This is Kayamsky, and the Russians are reportedly attacking Shebaki. So this is Shebaki, and the Russians are attacking it. The reports come from the Russian Defense Ministry. They say that they are attacking it. So they also say that they're attacking at Nesteryanka. So we are going to monitor and see how this progress. And particularly, it's important to note that Nesteryanka as well as the attack towards Shebaki is very near to each other. So it's on the either flank of this entrenchment. And there's also other heavy entrenchments around this area here. So the Russians are pushing outwards. So we shall continue to monitor. Like I said, this is disastrous if the Russians are able to break through. And we move on to the Kherson Front. So this Kherson city, this is the Kherson Front. At the Kherson Front, Ukrainian forces continue to have a position at Krinky, and this can be confirmed by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry's own reporting. So on both days, 3rd and 4th, they mention about the Russians trying to dislodge Ukrainians off their bridgehead, but it's important to note that they say that the Russians carried out airstrikes in the area of Krinky, which confirms the Ukrainian forces are at Krinky, and this continues over on the next day as well. Krinky was mentioned again, this confirming that the Ukrainian forces have positions within Krinky itself. But also there is a drone footage of Krinky appearing, showing the entire settlement is flat. It's entirely flattened. Every building is destroyed, and whatever remains, whatever hiding spot that was remaining is getting airstrikes and artillery strikes. So it's a very disastrous area. And any soldiers going to be there is just living in hell. There is a geolocation of a Lancet attack, I believe. I didn't take note what weaponry, but basically a Ukrainian T-64 tank was destroyed south of Avdiivka. So over here, Otherwise, there's no other geolocations of Ukrainian forces getting attacked. There is one more. There's a barge that was destroyed along the Dnipro River. So the reducing number of geolocation might suggest that the supporting elements might be running out on the Ukrainian side. But of course, it could be also the Russians failing to find all these Ukrainian equipments. But we did have months of this geolocation, so at least 2 months, so that's bad. And one more report away from the Kherson Front over at Crimea. There is confirmation from reported by Deep State UA through satellite imaging that the Russian airbase at Belbek airbase was hit by the Ukrainian attack. It's probably missile attack. This if you zoom in, this row of buildings was destroyed, and this is also where the Ukrainian claims, the pro-Ukrainians Twitter or whatever, they are very excited about this, saying that a lot of top commanders or generals was killed over this area, and they are also linking this attack, this success of the attack at this airbase, with the alleged missingness of Gerasimov, basically the top general in the Russian Federation, the Russian Armed Forces, commander-in-chief, below the defense minister. So we shall continue to monitor and see if that's the case. I don't think so. But of course, that is a strike in a very weird position, so they must have intel of something happening. If you look at this airbase, this is the entire airbase, and the strike is actually here. So it is in a way it's not attacking the airbase, but no, they are basically missile striking the airbase, which is why I reported this. So that's very interesting to note. And yeah, so this is the summary for the day of 710 to 711 for the 3rd to the 4th of February. And let's go into the conclusions. If you want to watch the full uninterrupted SITREP, all the way from the frontline changes to the strategic tactical report to the conclusions, all in one video with no advertisement, do support DPA on Patreon, Locals, Boosty, YouTube membership, and coffee. Become a DPA Sergeant, Officer, and General, and you'll get access to a totally uninterrupted and no ads SITREP.